Hey there folks, Scottsdale Travel Chick Sidekick here to present our travel guide on Xunantunich Mayan ruins in Belize. In this video, we'll tell you everything you need to know about doing an excursion to Xunantunich, like how to get there, a bit of history, and how best to do the visit. Okay, let's go. First up, where is Xunantunich and how do I get there? Well, Xunantunich is on the western edge of Belize, just outside the town of San Ignacio, and only about 5 minutes from the Guatemala border. If you're not staying in San Ignacio area, it's about a 2.5-hour drive from Belize City, the international airport, or the main ferry pier. You can drive yourself there, pay the small $5 entry fee, and look around yourself, but to get the most out of the site, it's best to hire a guide through a local tour operator. Typical half-day tours for the site cost around $70 and up per person, but a visit here is often combined with another excursion nearby to make a full-day trip. We booked a combination tour with St. Leonard's Tours and would highly recommend them. They have great TripAdvisor reviews and you can easily book them direct. Here's their contact information if you'd like to give them a try. And if you tell them the Scottsdale Travel Chick sent you, you'll get 10% off. We'd highly recommend the combo trip of Xunantunich visit with a trip to Caves Branch Underground River. We had a great time at both, and if you'd like to see what Cave Branch is all about, just search Scottsdale Travel Chick Cave Branch for a dedicated review. Now, let's talk a little bit about Xunantunich and its history. Xunantunich served as a Maya civic ceremonial center in the Belize Valley and rose to prominence between 600 AD and 1000 AD. When the region was at its peak, nearly 200,000 Mayans lived in the valley, and it is believed that Xunantunich was one of the last functioning Mayan communities at the end of its known existence. The Xunantunich site sits atop a hill that was artificially flattened just above the Mayan River. Overall, it's composed of 6 major plazas surrounded by more than 25 temples and palaces, but most of these are yet to be excavated. The word Xunantunich is a relatively modern name, aka not Mayan, which means stone woman, and it came from tales of a female ghost dressed in white with fire-red eyes who inhabited the site and would disappear into the main temple in historic times. Today, Xunantunich is the most visited Mayan site in Belize. However, just note that there are a number of other Mayan sites also worth visiting in the area, and if you want to learn more about them and other fun things to do in San Ignacio area overall, please check out our dedicated travel guide to this area. Just search Scottsdale Travel Chick San Ignacio Guide. Next up, what to expect on your tour. Well, you can expect the overall experience to take 2 to 3 hours, excluding your transit time to get there. Once you're at the site, the first thing you'll need to do is cross the small Mayan River on a hand-cranked platform ferry. That's not really a Mayan thing, but it's pretty cool anyways. I know I've never done something like that before. Okay, Xunantunich, I guess we're gonna go across this hand-cranked ferry across the river. So they have to manually crank this thing to get across this part of the river. We're about 5 or 10 minutes from the Guatemala border. So well, this is our guide. We got a lucky today. We got an LAO and we got a private tour. And we're going across the Mayan River, right?
Mayan River, exactly.
And how long has this thing been
This
hand-cranked?
ferry has been operating since the 60s when they started to excavate the Mayan site. They used a big canoe. Later on, they added a ferry. The government wanted to build a bridge, and the people said, no, it's been tradition. So they gift us a new ferry, and that's the one we're using today.
So this is only used to go to the ruins?
Yes, this is the only access we have to the Mayan site of Xunantunich.
As you wait to get on this little ferry, there are some local trinket shops along the roadside where you just might find a souvenir to your liking. Of course, be sure to bargain. Once the ferry takes you across the river, you'll drive up a short hill to reach the parking area and entry gate. Nearby, there's a site map and also a visitor center which displays models of the site along with photos, maps, and significant events in the development of the area. All right, so here we are at Xunantunich archaeological site. This is the entrance. You park over here. We're one of the first ones here this morning, and then they have some bathrooms over here. And then you enter up through this little building in front of the cars. One of the pro tips is to put on a little bit of bug spray. They say there's a lot of mosquitoes around, so I'm actually gonna chance it with the Scottsdale Travel Chicks putting on bug spray over there.
One of the last Mayan cities to be abandoned in Belize is Xunantunich, completely abandoned, it is believed, around 1,100 years AD approximately, right? So a beautiful small city. The remains of hierarchy is what we're going to be seeing today. The remains of the residentials of the elite, the remains of the palace, the main administrative building, and the remains of the temples. Excavations and testings around the area and mapping, and they were hiring people to work with them. The people refused to work because they have heard stories of a ghost appearing on top of the mounds, right? Linton Satterway started to investigate, and he really believed the story of the locals, and he decided to name it Xunantunich, which means Maiden of the Rock or Stone Lady. So that's how it got the name. In 2003, the Department of Archaeology found the original name, which is Kaatswitz, clay mountains, but with stick, with Xunantunich, because you guys have a hard time saying it.
Yes,
so
that's right.
That's
Great.
why
Along the way, we also learned a little bit about the local nuts. Starts from these fruits or nuts up on the tree. Those are cojones. So if anybody asks if I have cojones, I got one at least. Oh, now I got two cojones, yes. Then it's a short walk further uphill to the excavated ruins.
All by yourself, Tiger.
El Castillo is the second tallest we have in the country of Belize. It's 130 feet in height. The tallest one is just 15 feet taller than this one.
And where is that?
It's called Caracol.
Caracol.
Caracol. Cana, the structure, is 145 feet in height. This one is 130. The main administrative complex of this building. But if you hear this, right, acoustics is very important, because on top of the temples, this is where the Mayans perform their rituals. What type of rituals we're talking about? Bloodletting, human and animal sacrificing, right? Offerings of incense, food, chocolate that they did to their gods. And the people gathered around the plazas to presence these rituals.
As it's defined today, Xunantunich occupies only about 1 square mile on a singular hilltop. But in total, 6 plazas with more than 26 temples and palaces have been identified. The primary excavated area on the hilltop is what they call Group A and is dominated by El Castillo, the second tallest Mayan structure in Belize, at 130 feet or about 40 meters tall. I've called this a temple, but archaeologists have actually determined the structure was a multi-use building that served as a dwelling for the elites, a community temple, and an administrative hub for the region. Here, your guide will tell you more about the history of the structure, along with various building phases over time, and in particular, about the reconstructed friezes and the stories they tell on the east side. So Elio, what were these rooms again used for?
These are the royal rooms, Mr. Greg. These are the royal rooms that were in service around 900 years AD. This is where the most affluent people of this ancient city lived or resided back in the days.
This is where the party happened, huh?
Right?
This is where when you came to party, you came here?
The king and his family will have been residing around these rooms.
Oh, okay.
The Mayans used zoomorphic figures to represent their gods, and they also used anthropomorphic figures to represent their gods. In the center, a guy with an open mouth is representing the god of rain. His name is Cha'ak. The stucco dates to around 800 years AD, when the rains were falling less and less. And The Mayans believed that the god of rain was thirsty, hence the reason they carved him with an open mouth. The Mayans believed that the goddess of health, life, and fertility was the moon, and they called her Ixchel. A part of having a 365-day calendar, the Mayas also use a 260-day calendar. If you focus on the right-hand side, you can see somebody like Atlas lifting up something. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The earth is squared according to Mayan mythology, and there is a god on each corner of the squared earth lifting up the skies. And how do we know these gods today? North, south, east, and west. If you take a look at the lining of the walls, you can see how straight the walls actually are. Impressing. Around here, you can see the remains of the original plaster. So we know that all of these walls were beautifully smooth back in the days. A lot of people believe that this image of the sun god was adopted by the Olmec civilization prior to the Mayas thriving, right? Other people believe that because the sun god had a bit of a feathered serpent body, he flew the 13 levels of the heavens as a feathered serpent, and that is why he is sideways. In some of the clay pots, they have found microscopic remains of psilocybin. You know what psilocybin? Magic mushrooms.
Okay.
Right? So we know that the Mayas also used this type of what we call today psychedelics.
You'll also visit one of the Mayan ball courts where they played the ancient game of Pak-to-Pak. Fun fact of this, the winners of this game were often sacrificed to the gods as their reward. Ha! Wouldn't want to be the winner of that, huh?
Right? Some of the ball courts that have been found around here won't have a hoop. They will have altars in the center, and the Mayans will play the game using a ball made out of the sap of a tree known as the rubber tree. A beautiful example of the rubber tree is this one right here on my left, where the sap was molded into a sphere, and when it dries, it becomes rubber, and when it's bounced, it gives the sound pok. In the air, it's ah and tok when it touches the wall. So pok a tok is the name of the ball game, or pok ta pok. Without using your hands, the Mayans will have to get the ball inside your hoop. But we have found evidence that when the ball game was played to honor the gods, the winners were sacrificed. Why?
Winner. So why would you want to be a winner?
Very good question. Why will you sacrifice the loser to your gods? The gods deserve the best. In Mayan mythology, if you were sacrificed for the gods, you skipped the challenge of the underworld.
If you're lucky, you'll also get to see some wildlife, like maybe a toucan or some monkeys like we did. And if you have the right guide, you might even get to see this little guy. The Scottsdale travel chick was freaked out about that. And nearby, we even have some spider monkeys. Just behind the south side of Castillo.
Oh my gosh. Oh, jeez.
See, his boat is red, hence the name Yucatan red-rumped or red-boat tarantula.
Wow,
It's beautiful.
the size of your pole.
See?
Is that a normal size?
This is a bit of a male size. The females tend to get a bit bigger because in the arachnid family, when the male mates, the female kills it.
Also, you'll learn about the untouched burial chamber recently discovered on the site only in 2016.
When they found this in 2016, they were amazed. This structure was the tomb of one of the most important persons of this ancient city of Xunantunich. Forever we have been talking about the king, and the king. And on this particular tomb, we did not find a king. we found a queen.
Oh, the most important.
Around 680 years AD, the person that was ruling this ancient city was a female. She was buried in the biggest tomb that has been found in 200 years of archaeological excavations, 4.5 feet wide by 11 feet long. For you to be buried with a jaguar. The bones of a jaguar were found on her feet. But why a jaguar? This female was so important, and these descendants wanted the journey through the underworld to be fast, to be quick, right? So they buried her with the jaguar so that the jaguar would travel alongside with her through the
Protect
underworld,
her.
be her guide in the underworld. It's amazing.
I could keep going with many more clips, but as you see, there's so much to be learned about Xunantunich and Mayan history with a good guide like Elio. And this is definitely worth a stop during your time in Belize. Again, we'd recommend making it part of a full-day trip along with cave branch tubing, just like we did with St. Leonard's Tours. Well, there you have it. We hope you enjoyed our guide to touring Xunantunich ruins in Belize. Until next time, see you later.